All right. Welcome everybody to our presentation today about the Amicable Divorce Network, Amicable Divorce, and what is it and is it right for you? My name is Tracy Ann Moore Grant, and a lot of people often ask, who the heck are you? And so I am an attorney. My law firm is Patterson Moore Butler, and we are located in Forsyth County, Georgia, which, if you're not familiar with the area, is north of Atlanta, about 40 minutes or so. I have been practicing for 18 years solely in the area of family law. Like I said, I'm an attorney. I'm also a mediator, an arbitrator, a guardian ad litem, and a parent coordinator. But what gave rise to the Amicable Divorce Network was being a very frustrated attorney. In the family law system, parties are placed in a very uncomfortable position to try to gain what it is that they want. They are placed in an adversarial position. I found over the years that just did not make sense. It doesn't make sense for families to say that you all need to sling mud at one another. You need to say very ugly things about one another to accomplish your goals in litigation. But then immediately, as soon as this litigation is over, you're expected to co-parent together beautifully and have a great relationship. And this whole experience is expected to have not had a negative impact on your children. And that just is not practical. And that just isn't what I was seeing in the legal system. A second thing that made me very frustrated was I would often have clients come to me and they would say, I, really just want a very fair and reasonable result in my case. I just want to be fair. I just want to get this over with and be peaceful and be very respectful. And they would say things to me like, how long is this case going to take? How expensive is it going to be? And I wasn't able to answer those questions accurately because the answer that I would give would say it really depends on who your spouse hires, who their attorney is. If they happen to choose an attorney who is resolution minded like you are, we're going to have a very good result. I'm going to be able to talk to this person. I'm going to be able to get your case settled in mediation, and we'll be able to keep the costs low because I'll be able to have a good conversation with the other attorney. And if, however, they hire a very litigation and conflict focused attorney, which unfortunately members of our industry are, because conflict is the more you work on a case, the more steps that you have to go through, the more conflict that there is, the more that the attorney makes money. And so unfortunately, that's a very ugly part of our industry. And so often it was a wait and see game. Are we going to get a resolution-minded attorney on the other side? Or are we going to get somebody that is really going to blow up the case and cause a lot of problems? And so after practicing for about 16, 17 years, I was just thinking there has to be a better way. Selfishly, I was thinking there has to be a better way for me to practice law. Being a family law attorney really is draining on your soul. You're often slinging mud at good parents and good people because that's what your job is, to get your client a good result. And it just doesn't seem practical. And so the idea of the Amicable Divorce Network started in order to identify members in the legal profession who I worked well with, who I knew other professionals worked well with, who, when I had a case and I saw that the other party hired these attorneys, I was glad because I knew that we were going to get a good result. The effect is you don't make as much money doing amicable cases, but that's fine with me. And it's actually with everybody who's joined the network. You'll see if you look on our website, many of the attorneys charge a lower rate for doing cases. And so that's something that we think is very important, is that we do vet all of our members, and I'll get into that a little bit later. So what is actually the Amicable Divorce Network itself? We are a professional organization for all divorce industry professionals. The purpose of our organization is to identify to the public Divorce industry professionals who have experience in family law. You have to have at least 5 years of experience in whatever category it is that you're seeking membership. We think that this is very important because this is not an organization where somebody should be joining only to make network connections and to hopefully get business. We are very passionate about amicable divorce. We also do not want attorneys. Generally speaking, it's younger associate attorneys that have a very high minimum billing requirement. They're not permitted to be in the group. If anybody joins the group that is with a larger firm that has a billing requirement, they actually have to get, if they are not the boss themselves, if they are not the partner, their membership has to be signed off on because we do not allow overbilling. Everybody in the network has to be resolution minded and not conflict driven. And the way that we control that is through recommendations. People have a good experience with a professional, they recommend them for membership. They can be invited to join. If somebody does not have an invitation to join, they can fill out an application to join the network. We vet them. We send their information to our members to see if people have had good or bad experiences with them. We also ask that they have certain credentials and professional references, which we check. And if we have an issue with a person, if they're in our network and they are not acting amicably in an amicable case, they can be removed. It's important to note that most of the attorneys, I would say all of them except for me that I'm aware of, practice all forms of divorce work. They are not solely focused on amicable and uncontested divorce in the way that I am. Many like that type of work, but are still doing high conflict cases. So it's very possible that they may act like a high conflict attorney in a high conflict case, and that's appropriate. But attorneys who create conflict in an amicable case would be removed from the network because parties are coming to us for a low conflict result. So if attorneys cannot monitor themselves appropriately for our types of cases, as well as any other professionals that have a disruptive and not positive impact on the divorce experience, would be removed from the network. Luckily, we haven't had to do that so far. We have had people apply that we have had to turn away. Our members take our quality of membership incredibly seriously and are very protective about who they let into the network, which is a good thing. So people often say and ask the question, what exactly is an amicable divorce? How do you define that, and where does that fall? And from my perspective, there are 3 types of divorce, 3 types of ways to get divorced, or the tone of the divorce, so to speak. The very lowest of conflict is called an uncontested divorce. People use that term very freely. They use it to describe their mindset. They don't want to fight. They don't want to argue, but that is not actually what it means. Legally, an uncontested divorce means that all parties have all of their issues settled prior to meeting with an attorney, usually is what happens. So we often call these kitchen table agreements. The parties usually do not have minor children because they are often unable with minor children to work out all of the child support nuances, parenting plan issues that may be required. Some are, but it's really rare. But an uncontested case would mean that the parties have sat down, have decided all of their terms, how they're going to divide all of their assets, all of their debts, and all they need an attorney or another professional to do is to help them finalize their case. Perhaps draw up their legal paperwork, walk it through the court system. It is a zero negotiation type of situation. A lot of clients will reach out to me and say, oh, I have an uncontested case. It's uncontested, but we have no idea how to calculate child support and we need help with this issue or that issue. That isn't uncontested. But if you have an uncontested spirit, meaning you are not wanting to fight in the legal system and draw out conflict and cost, then the middle road is the amicable divorce process. So with the amicable divorce process, we've actually designed a different legal process than the one that is used in the Georgia court system. Our process has legal forms that go with it. Our attorneys receive training on this, and any of our other members who wish to receive the training as well are welcome to do so. It is offered with 3 hours of CLE credit through the Georgia Bar Association. And the process is designed for the parties to have a negotiated, informed, and binding divorce process without ever stepping foot in the court system, without going to court in any fashion, or technically following the court's timeline of events. So we do what's called discovery, which you have in a traditional case where parties can exchange documents so that they have full information about the finances of their marriage. They do verified financial statements, which means that they sign under oath stating that their finances are true and correct under penalty of perjury. And we often have to attend a mediation in these types of cases for the parties to negotiate. If the parties are truly having an amicable divorce, they both have attorneys in the Amicable Divorce Network. We use mediators in the Amicable Divorce Network. Arbitrators in the event a mediation isn't successful. We refer to the mental health professionals. We do find that people who are attracted to the amicable divorce process usually are those who are also wanting to seek solid financial advice, solid mental health treatment for themselves and for their children to get through the process. And so, similar to collaborative law, which some people may be familiar with, where you had a pod of professionals who help you, we have those same resources in the network available to everyone. The difference with collaborative law is that the use of the professionals is not mandatory. If you do need a professional, we do ask that you refer within the network, and we haven't had any issues with not having a resource for somebody because we've been very lucky to have a robust membership. But we do not require that parties enlist all of these professionals in the collaborative process. And so that's what's different. I found that the collaborative process was often very expensive for people. A traditional and normal family could not afford to go through their divorce and hire a mental health professional, a financial professional, an attorney, and all these people to help them. And not often were they all required. So that is the difference with collaborative. I get asked that a lot. So we go through our amicable divorce process, which is structured by the attorneys with a planning form. We do set up deadlines since we don't have court deadlines. This allows the parties to move as fast or as slow as they want to in their case, and allows a lot of flexibility for a personalized process. So the other way to get divorced is a traditional divorce. It starts with somebody filing divorce with the court system, the other person getting served, often by law enforcement, and the case is on the timeline that is set by the court system. So a lot of people think with an amicable divorce that you have to have things agreed upon, that you have to already have an agreement, that you don't negotiate, and that just isn't the case. You're agreeing to not submit your issues to the court system, to streamline your case, and to not sling mud at one another. You often have a divorce attorneys in a traditional case who are bickering with one another, and that just doesn't happen. The attorneys have good working relationships with one another, and in these cases are trained to keep the temperature down, even in the most complicated of cases. The parties do use alternate dispute resolution to get their matter settled as opposed to the court system. They do get legal advice. Their attorneys advocate for their position and negotiate for them. You use like-minded professionals in the network, so everybody's on the same page to keep your case low conflict. You get a personalized approach, and everything is settled in the case prior to filing anything with the court system. So how this compares to a traditional divorce in Georgia is that you start the case, like I said, one party files it with the court system, you have the other party served with it. Then you're on the court timeline that they have dictated. There are some statutory statewide deadlines, and then there's some very county specific deadlines. So once somebody is served with the action, they have 30 days to answer. That's statewide. Then the parties can engage in the discovery process. By statute, that can go on for 6 months. Other things that may happen during a traditional divorce case would be the appointment of a guardian ad litem who would investigate the best interests of the child, psychological evaluations, forensic accountants, and things of that nature, until you're able to get to some sort of resolution or finalization stage. One thing that's important to point out also at this time is that with COVID-19, the court systems were closed for a long period of time. And although that's a terrible thing, it ended up being good for our network because we already had built in place a system for getting people through the court system without using the court system. So we saw a lot of people gravitate towards our process this past year in 2020 because you can go through the process start to finish from your home. Most attorneys, if not all, do Zoom consults, just like we're doing here. Mediators also entirely on Zoom. I did one yesterday for 9 hours on Zoom. And you can virtually sign with a notary public now. So there's really no reason to leave your home in our process. When you're with the traditional court process in Georgia, all of those parties who were in the middle of a court process last year, they came to a complete halt. There were no court hearings. There was nothing going on. A lot of processes just came to a halt unless you had a very large emergency and then you got moved to the front of the line. We're still seeing an incredible backlog in cases. People who don't have emergencies, who maybe just want access to the court system, just are being not necessarily denied, but delayed incredibly in the process. And so that just has come about to be another benefit of the amicable divorce because you're totally separate than what they are. In divorce in Georgia, alternate dispute resolution is actually not mandated in every county. I primarily focus in Forsyth County and the surrounding counties, and each county has a different rule. For example, in Forsyth County, you have to mediate within 90 days of a case being served. For some people, that's a very long time to wait, 3 months for your mediation. For some people, that's very fast because they need to get more documents and things of that nature. But that's a court rule that you're bound by. There are some counties that don't require mediation at all. So if you have a conflict-minded attorney on the other side, you're never going to get a mediation. They're going to be setting your case for trial and putting the parties in an expensive and adversarial position. And now with COVID-19, waiting on that final trial can take certainly up to a year would be a realistic expectation. The amicable process, in contrast, is very different. The parties start by each contacting an amicable attorney. The attorneys work together to come up with a planning form and structure for the case. Determine, do the parties need to exchange documents? If so, what is our deadline for that? So whereas in Georgia, there's a built-in discovery deadline of 30 or 45 days, depending on the document that's served, in the amicable process, you could say, hey, I can turn around and get that to you in 15 days. That's no problem. We can easily print those things off the internet. You know, or you can say, my client's really struggling with this divorce and it'll be very overwhelming for him or her to gather this documentation. Can they have 60 days? And the attorneys can determine what's best for the parties. It's very good to have this flexibility in regards to both easy issues. You may want to move your case very fast, but it's also good for very complex issues. For example, parties that might need to have a business evaluation done in this process would agree to use the same business evaluator, which can take a few months for them to do their work. And in Forsyth County, during that time, you'd be forced to attend a mediation and you wouldn't have all of your information. But in this process, you would enlist one professional to do that work. In a traditional process, they would be paying 2 business evaluators, double the money. And then they would fight about who had the right valuation. But because we're using very experienced professionals and streamlining the process, the parties are agreeing to streamline it in those types of ways. Parties that may have mental health issues and in some circumstances are not good for amicable divorce. The professionals in the network are trained, both mental health professionals and attorneys, to identify those types of perhaps personality disorders that may not be a good fit for amicable divorce. But if you have parties that have, for example, anxiety, where they need to move slowly. There are people who are very much grieving the loss of their marriage, and if they're, forced to do something, they just mentally shut down. You're able to really cater the situation and the timeline for your parties. Is it going to go very fast and you're going to get these parties to mediation in 3 weeks? Or do you need to take extra time and you're going to take a very slow approach? I've been doing an amicable divorce now for some parties for about a year. And that's their comfort level, and they are fine with that. And that's fine with us and for the attorneys, because there's no judge poking us to say, what are you guys doing? Send me a status update. Come to court for this status conference. The parties are moving at their comfort level, and that's working for them to dissolve their marriage. Once the parties in an amicable case have the information that they need to negotiate, sometimes the attorneys will try to negotiate a settlement themselves, or will set the case for a mediation. Most cases are successful in mediation, whether they're amicable or not. I believe the statistics are over 70% of cases settle through alternate dispute resolution means, and that's probably higher with amicable cases because people have a resolution mindset and their expectations are set appropriately for that being how you need to resolve your case. However, if a case does not fully settle in mediation, in the amicable process, the parties go to an arbitration. An arbitration is different because the arbitrator has the authority to make a decision, just like a judge does. They're vested with that authority. And so the parties are agreeing to go to a binding arbitration to resolve any remaining issues. When the case is finalized and all of their terms are done, we sign off on all the paperwork and file it as an uncontested divorce. That means you're filing everything on the same day. The complaint for divorce, the acknowledgement of service, and all of the settlement documents. So that indicates to the court system and to the respective judge's office, nothing to see here. Please just sign off on our documents. And that has been very successful for all of the cases that we've done so far. We haven't had any pushback from the court system. We've actually had a lot of thank yous and compliments for helping them with their caseload. So if parties are interested in pursuing an amicable divorce process, we have literature that we can send them in the mail. People learn differently. We have small booklets. We have large 8x10 booklets, depending on what information is that parties want to receive. They can email us or they can fill out an information request form on our website. If they're ready to get started and would like to find an attorney or another professional that they want to meet with, on our website, every single member has their own profile page. We've had really great success with Google and getting very high placement for our network and for our members. So even if you Google usually one of our members, their profile on our page will come up as one of the top searches for them. So everybody's in charge of their own profile on the website. And so a person can go read through all the profiles. We encourage people to put their financial charges, anything, information that parties might want to learn, because we do believe in financial transparency. And so we ask as much as possible that the professionals put that information on their website, on the page on our website, and we link them back and forth. For professionals who are interested in being a member of our network, they may receive an invitation to join. Often we have people that have good experience with other professionals. They're recommended to our board and they'll receive an invitation to join. That means that they've sort of skipped over the vetting. They've been vetted by receiving that invitation. If they don't receive an invitation to join, they can apply for membership. The membership's also on our website and can be downloaded, or you can email directly and we'll send you a membership application form. We have joint membership opportunities available with Divorcetown USA. Divorcetown is a networking site that offers a lot of educational and speaking opportunities for its members and is open for all divorce industry professionals to join. We often joke with them that we're the amicable avenue of Divorcetown. We are simply focused on amicable divorce, promoting that within the state of Georgia and really limiting the quality of our membership. And so we're a small segment of what it is that they do. Currently, we serve 26 counties in Georgia and are growing. We're regularly getting applications and have a large membership push right now for south of the city into Peachtree City and down to Macon and connecting those geographic areas right now. So we expect the county coverage to grow. Also, because we're doing this as an uncontested divorce process and most things are done online, for example, I have done and can do divorces anywhere in Georgia. It doesn't matter. So anybody that would like to utilize the process in Georgia will certainly have professionals available to them. We have received an award, which was a really big deal. In 2020, I was awarded the Distinguished Leader Award from the Daily Report, which is the newspaper for attorneys in Georgia. And it was specifically for founding the Amicable Divorce Network and for its positive impact on the family law system of Georgia. And if I'm not mistaken, I was the only family law attorney to receive an award last year, so they don't often recognize that area of law. So that was an incredible honor to receive. We're also endorsed by Divorcify, which is a national website which connects individuals with professionals. It gives them a divorce roadmap. And so they have endorsed us as their Georgia professional organization. We're also endorsed by the Child-Centered Divorce Project out of Florida. And you can hear me and other members speak often on podcasts, trying to get the message out there. We've had a lot of requests for interviews, write a lot of articles. We're featured in My Forsyth magazine and all of their editions, writing articles about amicable divorce. And as always, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. That's where we put out a lot of content about what our members are doing, what we're doing, and about our events. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today. And for those of you who are joining us later on our recording, I appreciate you tuning in, and feel free to share this recording with anybody who you think would be interested in the amicable divorce process. And we look forward to hearing from you.